Okay, today we're going to be talking about from phonics to fluency, effective teaching of decoding and reading fluency at the elementary school level. A book written by Timothy Rosinski and Nancy D. Paddock. We're going to be discussing Chapter 5 and Chapter 13. Chapter 5 discusses the use of authentic text to learn new words and develop fluency. In Chapter 13, is student-created texts and word learning. In Chapter 5, using authentic text to learn new words and develop fluency, the author talks about using authentic books that have natural language patterns. This will allow young readers, ELLs, and older struggling readers to develop fluency. Pattern books are available in large and small books. Teachers can use the big books to teach whole group, and the students use the small version for independent work. This right here, Eric Carle, is an example of a pattern book. I've also provided two examples in the slide as well as the links to them. If you open up the book to certain pages, it will tell you the word families. It will tell you the word families. Let me see if I can get it in there. It will tell you the word families. In this particular case, the word family is at, as in and that, and man and can. The sight words are a, I, what, run, me, yes, do, my, fly, no, curl, and read. And then it also provides bonus words for the students to look for as a teacher is reading. Teachers also can make their own big books and have the students illustrate each page of their drawings with their own drawings. Finger puppet songs and rhyming are also authentic texts. Children learn finger play and print concepts. Nursery rhymes like the Mother Goose rhymes are also authentic texts that have repetitive text and word families. They can help students learn phonics and fluency. In the environment, children are exposed to environmental print at school and in the community. They see the colors, they see the shapes, the letters in print. Teachers can make theme books. They can put signs in the community. They can make a book out of signs in the community, and then they can have children or their students illustrate the books. They can talk about different restaurants. They can talk about different sodas, candy, etc. The themes are endless, and the students can and illustrate each one so that it gives them ownership. Chapter 13 discusses student-created text and word learning. Student-created text is basically the students dictating to the teacher what they want written down. This whole process is known as the language experience approach. It allows students to first have an interesting stimuli. They need something in which to write about, whether it be a field trip or a guest speaker. They first start off with the oral language by saying what they experienced, and then it turns into written language. This particular type of teaching, the language experience approach, has several steps to it. First, there must be an interesting stimuli. Like I said earlier, a field trip, a guest speaker, I don't know, the zoo bringing in animals, anything that can get the students' attention. The teacher then facilitates the sharing of thoughts. What were their thoughts, their feelings about the experience? Once the discussion is over, then the writing begins. The students start telling the teacher what they experienced. Once the dictation is done, they will reread it, okay, and encourage students to make any changes that they see or additions that they want to make. They can read and reread the dictation as a group, which builds fluency. They can point out interesting words. This is the beginning of word study. The teacher can also make individual copies so that each student can mark up the book, their own book, as they're going along with the larger version of the book that they dictated. These steps can also be done with one-to-one dictation. Ultimately, it begins as an oral experience, and by them dictating what they experienced, what they felt, and then it goes into the written experience. There are several activities that teachers can do with students in a group or individually when using authentic text to learn new words and develop fluency. they can, like I said earlier in the presentation, they can use a large version of the authentic predictable text so that the students can hear and see the text print as it's being read out loud to them. Uh, Reading the book several times will allow the students to become familiar with the words, and they can also be provided with the smaller version. Once the book is read to them several times and they can predict the words that are coming up next, they can be given a smaller version so that they can read along with the teacher as she's reading it out loud to them. Several activities that they can do are guessing games. Okay, that's another authentic activity. They can look at the pictures, and the teacher can ask, who can find this in the story, or who can find the number 8 written in letters in the story. If students have their own copy of the book, they can answer questions by writing in their book. I don't know how feasible this is because allowing for a student to write in a class set of a book as a reading teacher myself is does tend to get quite expensive. And if we end up copying the book, then we break copyright law. But it's how far we're willing to go as teachers. Word sorts is another activity that can be done, and in a minute I am going to show you how a word sort goes. Um, Depending on the activity, the materials that will be needed are definitely a large version of the book that's being read, a student version, um, which is just a smaller version of what the teacher is reading. They could definitely be able to illustrate the book. If they have a blank book with just the words on it, they would need colors. Sticky, so the teacher can mark out certain words, and the students can try to guess what word was there. Then we have chapter 13, student created texts. When it comes to student created text, again, this is basically dictation. It's oral dictation of an experience that the students have had. The teacher would definitely need large poster board, um, preferably personal. My personal preference is the one that has a sticky back that you can put on the wall and you can unstick and move it anywhere in the classroom. That will allow you to work in small groups, one-to-one, and in a whole class. You can also, as they dictate, you can also project their words as you're writing them down off of an overhead projector or a ladybug, as we call them nowadays. Um, Children can illustrate their own books. If you choose to do this whole group, you can give each student a copy of the book that they dictated as a class, and they can each draw their own, or they can work as a group and everybody takes turn or gives input into what they're going to be drawing on that particular page. Um, Again, materials are going to be needed for that. It's definitely chart paper, markers, permanent markers for the teacher to write with, overhead markers, colors for the students to be able to color their own illustrations. And that's about it. Alrighty, so today I'm going to show you all a couple of activities that you can do with predictable text. I'm going to be using Eric Carle. Um, can a cat do that? And what we've basically done after we've read the book is I have a student version of the book, which is a small book, and I've basically gone over the words that are part of a word family. So the first activity we're going to do is a word sort. And I've gone over the book. I have read the story with my students, and with sticky paper, with sticky notes, and just regular plain paper. You can do this either individually. You can give it to them on index cards. I'd like to use sticky paper, sticky notes, simply because it allows the kids to have tactile reinforcers, and they basically just pull off the tabs. You can give it to them all stacked up, and then it is up to the student to figure out where it goes. For example, we have at, and there's that. We have cat. We have an. Oops, and they're not sticking very well. Man and can. And again, this is my example right here. So I hope that it's visible. That's one activity that you can do after. Again, all you need is a piece of paper and some stickies. You can do this on index cards. You can do this on a big poster board and have the students play on the floor doing this activity, whichever way works for you, and depending on the number of students you also have. Another activity that I'm doing with the Eric Carle book, which is again a predictable text, is I have, actually, I apologize. It is not the Eric Carle book, but I do have this predictable text, which is Stack the Cat. Stack the Cat. And what I've done is I have basically covered all of the words that I want my students to remember. On this particular book, we're going to be concentrating on numbers. So we have the first number, one cat sleeps, and the word that I covered is the word one. And it's up to them to remember what word goes there. And you can use the cat. It's only one fat cat. Then we go on to number two. Oh gosh, I can't get this in. And you have the number two, and it's up to them to remember. This book I paired with Eric Carle because it's part of the same family. It's part of the same word family, the cat and cat.